Hello dear students, welcome to History, the second lesson, the extension of British rule in India. This is the part second of the lesson. In this part second, we are going to discuss about the Anglo-Maratha wars, Anglo-Sikh wars and the doctrine of lapse. In the previous class of the same lesson, we had discussed the first Anglo-Maratha war, the reasons for the first Anglo-Maratha war, the course of the Maratha war as well as the results of the first Anglo-Maratha war. All these we had discussed in the previous class. We also had discussed about the subsidiary alliance. Who introduced subsidiary alliance? What is subsidiary alliance? When was it introduced? Which was the first state to accept the subsidiary alliance and which were the other states which came under the subsidiary alliance. All these we had discussed in the first part of this second lesson. Today I will begin the second part of the same lesson where we are going to discuss the remaining concepts. In this second part of the second lesson, I am going to teach you the remaining concepts, namely the second Anglo-Maratha war, the third Anglo-Maratha war as well as Anglo-Sikh wars. There you are going to study about two Anglo-Sikh wars. In addition to that, you are going to know about the doctrine of lapse. In the previous class, we had discussed about subsidiary alliance. Who introduced subsidiary alliance? Yes, you are correct, it was Lord Wellesley. Which was the first state to accept subsidiary alliance in India? You are very true, it was Hyderabad. The Nizam of Hyderabad in the year 1798 accepted subsidiary alliance. I am going to recall whatever you have learnt in the previous class, correct? In addition to that, who became the Peshwa at the end of the first Anglo-Maratha war? Yes, you are correct, it was Madhavrao II. Son of Narayana Rao, Madhavrao II became the Peshwa of Maratha Confederacy. Now, let us continue the second part of the second lesson, the extension of British rule in India. Dear students, in this chapter, in this part, we are going to discuss all these. First of all, the second and the third Anglo-Maratha war, Anglo-Sikh wars and the doctrine of lapse. All these are going to be discussed in this part. So, the second Anglo and third Anglo-Maratha war will be discussed now. Let us know the second Anglo-Maratha war. Dear students, after Madhavrao II became the Peshwa, British got certain concession in Maratha Confederacy and also Raghoba or Raghunatha Rao got the pension. With that, the first Anglo-Maratha war came to an end with the Treaty of Salbai. After a gap of nearly 15 years, second Anglo-Maratha war started. Recall, the first Anglo-Maratha war started in the year 1775 and ended in the year 1782. After about 15 years, in the year 1803, the second Anglo-Maratha war began. Why did the second Anglo-Maratha war begin? Let me tell you this. Dear students, the Maratha leaders had to be obedient to Peshwa of Pune. Peshwa of Pune was the head of the entire confederacy. In that confederacy, Scindia of Gwalior, Holkar of Indore, Gaikwad of Baroda and Bhonsle of Nagpur were there, but all of these had no unity. They were fighting for the Peshwahood. Each one wanted to become the Peshwa. At the same time, they were fighting among themselves. So, the leaders of Maratha Confederacy had no unity. Till Nana Fadnavis, everything was in good condition in Maratha Confederacy. After the death of Maratha leader Nana Fadnavis, the subordinates who had to be obedient to the Peshwa started fighting among themselves. Each one tried to become Peshwa. Each had a desire to lead the entire Maratha kingdom. At that time, the Peshwa Bajirao II. Who was Bajirao II? Bajirao II was the son of Raghoba or Raghunatha Rao. Raghoba was also called Raghunatha Rao. Raghunatha Rao's son Bajirao II had become the Peshwa, and he had become Peshwa at a very young age. He was unable to control none of these leaders of Maratha Confederacy. At this point of time, each subordinate tried to dominate, tried to influence Peshwa Bajirao II, the Peshwa of Pune. At that time, Peshwa of Pune wanted security. He wanted to secure his position. The differences among the Maratha chieftains was the major reason for the Second Anglo-Maratha War. Enmity broke out between Yashwantrao of Holkar family and Daulatrao Scindia family along with Peshwa Bajirao II. What happened here? Yashwantrao of Holkar defeated Scindia, and also he defeated the army of Peshwa Bajirao II. At this critical condition, Bajirao II accepted subsidiary alliance. In the year 1802, the army of Holkar defeated the army of Scindia as well as army of Peshwa. So, Peshwa Bajirao II suffered from insecurity. He thought of taking the help of British. Therefore, Peshwa Bajirao II voluntarily approached British for the help. At this point of time, British wanted to exploit this situation in their favor. So, it was very easy for British to meddle into the political affairs of Maratha Confederacy. In the year 1802, the army of Holkar defeated the army of Scindia and Peshwa. Peshwa Bajirao II was suffering from insecurity. He had to face his own subordinates who were waiting for an opportunity to topple Bajirao II. At this condition, Bajirao II, he voluntarily went to British and accepted subsidiary alliance through the Treaty of Bassein. Lord Wellesley got a very good opportunity to interfere in the politics of Maratha Confederacy. Lord Wellesley got an opportunity to meddle with the affairs of Marathas. Therefore, he imposed subsidiary alliance on Maratha Confederacy. Here you have a picture where Bajirao II is signing the subsidiary alliance. So, Bajirao II accepted subsidiary alliance through the Treaty of Bassein. Through the Treaty of Bassein in the year 1803, Bajirao II accepted subsidiary alliance. Now, let us discuss the Second Anglo-Maratha War, which began in the year 1803 and ended in 1805. Peshwa entered subsidiary alliance through the Treaty of Bassein, which was not tolerated by the subordinates, particularly Holkar, Gwalior, Bhonsle. All these did not like Bajirao II's acceptance of subsidiary alliance. So, they all formed an alliance and declared war against Peshwa Bajirao. When Peshwa Bajirao had accepted subsidiary alliance, Declaring war against Peshwa means declaring war against British. You keep this in mind, dear students, because in the previous class I taught you those who accept subsidy would get the British help. British would station a platoon of their army in such states whenever the Raja experiences insecurity or internal or external threat, the platoon would support the Raja. The platoon would come to the rescue of Raja. In that way, British had to fight on behalf of Baji Rao II. So, the war broke out in the year 1803. Governor General Wellesley defeated the combined army of Holkar, Bhonsle and Gwalior between 1803 to 1805. Governor General defeated the combined army. With the defeat of this, they were also made to accept subsidiaries. So, this is what the Second Anglo-Maratha War. Now, we shall discuss the Third Anglo-Maratha War, which began in the year 1817 and ended in the year 1818. The Third Anglo-Maratha War started in the year 1817 and ended in the year 1818. That means only 1 year of war it is. Just think of, dear students, the First Anglo-Maratha War started in the year 1775, ended in the year 1782. That means almost 7 years war it was. That shows the strong resistance of Maratha leaders. Come to the Second Anglo-Maratha War. In the Second Anglo-Maratha War, it started in 1803 and ended in 1805. That means it is almost 2 years of war. Come to the Third Anglo-Maratha War, it was only 1 year. That means it started in 1817 and by the beginning of 1818, the war came to an end. That means war to war, the crumbling power of Marathas, the deteriorating condition of Maratha family is exhibited here. That is what you need to know here. The Third Anglo-Maratha War began in the year 1817. Maratha families tried their best to consolidate their power. They tried their best to protect their independence and honor. Why? Because the subsidiary alliance made the rulers very much weak. They had no political independence. For everything they had to listen to the British Governor General. This subsidiary alliance had taken away the political sovereignty of independence of the Peshwa. Even the Peshwa attempted to free himself from the clutches of the company. Therefore, what did he do? In the year 1817, attacked on the British residency at Pune and burnt it down. That is the beginning of the Third Anglo-Maratha War. Even the subordinates like Appa Saheb of Nagapura and also Malhar Rao Holkar rebelled against British and they joined their hands with Peshwa of Pune, that is Baji Rao II. With the support of Appa Saheb of Nagapura and Malhar Rao Holkar, they rebelled against British. So, this is what we call the Third Anglo-Maratha War. Finally, Peshwa Baji Rao II fought against British at 2 different places. They are called Koregaon and Asti. Koregaon and Asti are in Maharashtra, but unfortunate, British were very powerful. They defeated Peshwa Baji Rao II and also his subordinates. Finally, Peshwa Baji Rao II had to surrender. This is what Koregaon. Here in Maharashtra, you have Koregaon and the place Asti nearby. Dear students, let us discuss the results of the Third Anglo-Maratha War. First of all, Baji Rao II was completely defeated and his Peshwahood was taken away. British abolished the Peshwa post and granted Baji Rao II annual pension. This is one of the results of the Third Anglo-Maratha War. Secondly, British installed Pratap Simha. Who was this Pratap Simha? A descendant of Shivaji Maharaj as the ruler of Satara, and named him as the traditional leader of Maratha Confederacy and suppressed the Maratha resistance completely. This is another result of the Third Anglo-Maratha War. So, you need to observe here Pratap Simha was the descendant of Shivaji Maharaj. So, he was made the traditional ruler of one of the small provinces of Maratha kingdom, that was Sathara. Dear students, this is about the first, second and third Anglo-Maratha War. I hope you have very well understood all these concepts. Now, I take you to another concept called Sikh Kingdom. Now, I have a question for you. Come on, tell me, where is the Sikh Kingdom? Where was the Sikh Kingdom in India? Yes, you are correct. The Sikh Kingdom was in Punjab territory. Let us see. I show you that on the map. See here, this is Sikh Kingdom. It was established by Raja Ranjit Singh. Raja Ranjit Singh established Sikh Kingdom in India. And initially, he too was against the British, but in the year 1809, British defeated Raja Ranjit Singh and imposed the doctrine of subsidiary alliance against him. Therefore, he had to accept subsidiary alliance. Then what? He continued his friendship with the British. A political anarchy broke out in Punjab after the death of Raja Ranjit Singh in the year 1839. Till 1839, Raja Ranjit Singh, Raja Ranjit Singh was ruling Punjab, and British and Raja Ranjit Singh maintained a good friendship. But after the death of Raja Ranjit Singh, British attempted to invade Punjab and also tried to dominate, influence the administration in Punjab. Even they violated continuous friendship pact which was signed with the erstwhile king Raja Ranjit Singh. Therefore, this incident, violation of continuous friendship pact by the British, led to the two Anglo-Sikh wars. Now, let us discuss the first Anglo-Sikh war. The first Anglo-Sikh war started in the year 1845 and ended in 1846. What was the reason for this? Dear students, I tell you, Raja Ranjit Singh's wife Jindan was the caretaker or regent of the kingdom. Her son Raja Dulip Singh was taking care of the administration. And there was a prime minister called Lal Singh who was also taking in charge of administration. But British interference in the administration made the people of Punjab, particularly Hindus, Muslims and Sikh, enraged. In the year 1945 December, a war broke out between British and Punjab. The people of Punjab, particularly Hindus, Sikh and Muslims, who wanted to resist the foreign administration, who wanted to resist the outside influence on Punjab, resisted British strongly. This led to the first Anglo-Sikh war. Dear students, let us know the first Anglo-Sikh war. In the year 1845 December, a war broke out between the British forces and Punjab. Sensing the danger from an outside force, the people of Punjab, particularly Hindu, Sikh and Muslims, got together and tried to defeat British. They tried to fight out British in the first Anglo-Sikh war, but they were not as powerful as British army. They were not well equipped and they were not well organized. Therefore, they were all defeated. They had to accept the defeat due to few traitors of Punjab. Some of the traitors of Punjab, they were responsible for the defeat of Punjab army. Later, Punjab signed a humiliating treaty of Lahore. A Lahore agreement was signed in the year 1846. This led to the direct influence of British over Punjab, and even they had to lose many number of places, particularly Kashmir. In addition to this, this agreement made British to appoint a resident as a de facto ruler of Punjab. That led to the ultimate power in the hands of British over the Punjab Sikh kingdom. Now let us discuss the Second Anglo-Sikh War, which began in the year 1847 and ended in 1848. The Sikh opposed the attempts by the British to rule Punjab directly. They wanted to rule independently, but British did not allow for the same. This led to the Second Anglo-Sikh War. The subordinates of Sikh kingdom by name Chattar Singh Atariwala in Lahore and Mulraj of Multan rebelled against British. This is called the Second Anglo-Sikh War. But you know very well, British were all powerful. Dalhousie led the British army and completely suppressed the subordinates of Sikh kingdom. The people of Punjab were again defeated in the Second Anglo-Sikh War. Finally, Governor General Dalhousie merged the entire Sikh kingdom with the British Empire. With this, the Sikh kingdom completely came under the control of British. Dear students, now we shall discuss the doctrine of lapse. In the previous class, we had discussed about subsidiary. In this class, let us know about the doctrine of lapse. The doctrine of lapse was introduced by Dalhousie. According to this policy, if any Indian ruler dies without children, particularly the male child, the adopted boy had no legal right over the throne, and such state gets merged with the British Empire. This is called doctrine of lapse. If any Indian ruler dies without a son, then the adopted son would not get any right to become the ruler of the kingdom. Such entire state gets merged with the British Empire. This is called doctrine of lapse. This was introduced by the then Governor General Dalhousie. According to this policy, the states like Satara, Nagapura, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Jhansi, Jaipur, all these came under British control. These were the states which lost their political power due to doctrine of lapse, which was introduced by the Governor General Dalhousie. And here in this map of India, I am showing you all the places like Satara, Jhansi, Nagapura, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Jhansi. All these places came under the control of British. Dear students, now I have recapitulation for you. That means we shall recollect whatever we have discussed in this lesson. In this lesson, we discussed three Anglo-Maratha wars. The first Anglo-Maratha war started in the year 1775, ended in the year 1782 with the Treaty of Salbai. There, Madhavrao II became the Peshwa, Raghoba got pension and British got more concession. The second Anglo-Maratha War started in 1803, ended in 1805, where Bajirao II accepted subsidiary. But in the third Anglo-Maratha War, Bajirao II tried to defeat British, but he was unsuccessful, so he lost his Peshwahood. All these we discussed in these three Anglo-Maratha Wars. Followed by we discussed Anglo-Sikh Wars, where the British tried to control Sikh kingdom after the death of Raja Ranjit Singh. It was opposed by the people of Punjab, but British completely suppressed the people of Punjab. That was the end of first Anglo-Sikh War. Later in the second Anglo-Sikh War, British completely defeated the subordinates of Sikh kingdom. Atariwala and Mulraj were completely defeated. All these you have discussed, and also you learnt about the doctrine of lapse. Now I have home assignment for you. Dear students, in the page number 16 of your textbook, you have fill in the blanks. Number 1, fill in the blanks with suitable answers. The doctrine of lapse policy was implemented in the year dash. So, you will have to write, read the textbook and fill the blank. I know you have very well understood this, you will write it. The doctrine of lapse policy was implemented by dash. You are all good students. I know by this time you have already answered all this. Now, one more home assignment for you, that is the second main. Explain the third Anglo-Maratha War. How did the doctrine of lapse support the expansion of British Empire in India? And one more, which were the states that came under the doctrine of lapse policy? All these you have very well understood in this concept. I hope you answer all this. When the school reopens, you show it to your class teacher. Dear students, I wish you all the best. Thank you. I am Srinivasa Prasad, teacher in social science. I am a teacher in St. Joseph Indian High School, Bengaluru. I wish you all the best. Thank you.